You gotta keep them separated.
And another good day here on the Tyler Werner Show. Maybe good night, I should say, as we're coming off of another Flyers victory, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, how about the Flyers? They looking dead a couple weeks ago on the race to the playoffs. And yet, as of late, in recent weeks, they have shown life. In fact, they've put together the last 10 games. They're now 8-1-1, putting together quite an interesting season for everybody right now. I mean, again, a couple weeks ago they looked dead in the water. I mean, they were, I don't know, 6-7 points behind the 8th seed in the playoff race, and yet suddenly they find themselves in the driver's seat. At least they control their own destiny right now. Right now in the basically the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference standings. Holding on to that last wild card spot. And last week on the Tyler Werner Show, afterwards on the posting, of course, former collaborator, he called into the Tyler Werner Show last year when it was on Kutztown Radio, of course. Batman Wayne said the Flyers are not going to make the playoffs. And I think he had a truth at the end of it. I don't have it up, but on my tabs here, but we talked some Eagles free agency, obviously, which we'll get it. I guess sum up a little more of what's been going on there shortly. But I mean, for at least right now, I mean, the Flyers are just, they're coming off of a win against the Chicago Blackhawks. And while last week at this time they were right there in the mix, now they're in the driver's seat. Of course, I talked about last week in conjunction with Eagles free agency that I had a nice visit to the Wells Fargo Center the Monday previous to the last edition of the Tyler Werner Show podcast. Nice visit to the Wells Fargo Center to see the Flyers beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were pretty hot, flying high at the time. So, a little later in the week, they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa Bay, and lo and behold, they beat them again. Just when you think of, a revenge situation here for the Tampa Bay Lightning, you'd figure a bounce-back game, and no. Now, they lost to the Florida Panthers, but they took them to overtime, which gave them an important point in the standings, obviously. The Panthers, of course, at the top of the Atlantic Division. But that's nothing in comparison to what the Capitals have been doing this season. Topping the Metropolitan Division by, only 20 points. And just kind of dominating the Eastern Conference and kind of the league in general. And it's one of those things that even if the Flyers do get that 8th seed, they have to take on this Washington Capitals team. And it would essentially be quite a measuring stick series, at least for them going forward. But anyhow, not going to look that far down the road, at least just yet. The Flyers, of course, after a fairly successful trip down to Florida, getting 3 out of the 4 possible points. Of course, they had the Flyers Wives Fight for Wives Carnival at the Wells Fargo Center on Sunday, of course. And, for those who were down there, actually, me and a little bit of family went down there, actually, as well. So, in a week's span, there you go. I mean, I had 2 trips to the Wells Fargo Center for a nice win and for the Flyers Fight for Wives Carnival. Got some, nice goodies, actually. Nice Flyers blanket, nice little bag, A couple other neat little things, I guess, in there, and saw some familiar faces fairly up close. Even saw Steve Coatsy doing a little interview on Comcast Sportsnet. It was quite a nice event. But anyhow, getting back to the, at the end of the day, I'm more of a game guy. I'm more there, I guess, to see the action. See the team put together a win, and but nevertheless, it was a nice event, and it was a nice, for the Flyers to pick up a little bit where they were leaving off, as far as playing good hockey is concerned. And this is without Jake Voracek, who they'll possibly get back on Saturday against the Penguins. But I believe it's the Penguins on Saturday. But anyhow, it's been interesting to see this Flyers team kind of come together in recent weeks, when it looked like things were very bleak, and now they sort of control their own destiny as far as getting a wild card spot goes. Now, of course, last night, or I guess to be specific, Tuesday, they had a big game against the Detroit Red Wings. This was an important one. It was important not only that the Flyers beat them 4-3, but that they didn't allow it to go to overtime, and that the Flyers walked away with 2 points and the Red Wings with nothing. A big 2-point swing here for the Philadelphia Flyers. And essentially what this did was basically put them 1 point behind the Red Wings, although the Flyers had 2 games in hand. So essentially what happened was tonight, Wednesday night, they have to turn right around and take on the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago. Chicago, of course, coming off of an embarrassing 5-0 loss to the LA Kings. And so you had to think here, an angry Chicago Blackhawks team, although they haven't been playing too well lately. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10 after losing to the Flyers. They're actually on a 4-game losing streak, which is un-Chicago Blackhawk-like as of late. But anyhow, you had to think here, an angry Blackhawks team, and the Flyers maybe on spaghetti legs playing the Red Wings the night before in a tough game, and the Flyers, they come out and win the game in regulation. And although it's a Western Conference team, nevertheless, it's another 2 points to the Flyers' name this year. So basically now where we're at in the standings, for those who are unaware, obviously the Capitals, Panthers, your division leaders. You got the Bruins at 86 points, the 3rd seed right now if the playoffs started. And bear in mind, there's some teams here that played 71 games, some that played 70. The Islanders, they played 68 games, but they have 85 points. So you get the idea here. The Rangers, the Lightning, those 6 teams are kind of the locks you would say to be in the playoffs right now, and when it's all said and done. Whereas you have the Penguins with 82 points, looking like they'll be the 7th seed most likely. Give or take, things could change, but you have the Penguins at 7, and then again, you had the Red Wings at 8, but now you have the Flyers at 8. After beating the Red Wings the other night, and then the next night turning right around and beating the Chicago Blackhawks, essentially putting them 1 point ahead of the Detroit Red Wings, with the Flyers having played 1 less game. So essentially that would bring 5 teams out of the Metropolitan Division and 3 out of the Atlantic, which of course is how it works. It can be 4-4 under the more recent system, the past couple of years in the NHL. It can be 4-4 or 5-3. Obviously, no 6-2. But the Flyers, at least for now, they control their own destiny. They're in the driver's seat. And as a matter of fact, in their last 10 games here, as I look at the NHL standings, they're the only team. No other team matches 8-1-1 right now.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of these. I don't mean to suddenly, have the, be wearing the Philadelphia Flyers boxers or anything right now in this edition of the Tyler Werner Show. But I mean, there is some credit to be given here to the Flyers for what they. I mean, again, this is without Jake Voracek, one of their top players. Not to mention, I mean, at very least, I mean, they get the 8th seed, and it's sort of an accomplishment from what was looking like a bleak start to the Dave Hackstall era here as new head coach for the Flyers. I mean, Jake Voracek's, but Shane Gostisbehere, obviously, who's been coming alive. I mean, he didn't even have to play the whole season, and he breaks the rookie scoring record for the first Flyers defenseman rookie to score 14 goals. And as a matter of fact, I happened to be there to witness it, of course, when that happened. I mean, it only took him that long to do it. I mean, Gostisbehere, I mean, how many games did he... I don't even know how many games he played. And then you got Rocco Gudaz as well in the defensive core. And, goaltending-wise, you got two solid goaltenders in Steve Mason and Michael Neuvirth for the most part. So, certainly there's some promise here on this Flyers team. At least going forward. Now, let me look at... Gosh, how many games did he play this season? Let's see. No, it doesn't say here. Let me go to ESPN. Maybe it'll say there. Wikipedia, I guess it's not quite updated yet for the season. For, I guess, Gostisbehere's stats for how many games he's played this season. Well, okay, right now he's at 16, of course, broke the record for goals for a Flyers defenseman. So yeah, 16-23 at 39 points, but he didn't even start playing until mid-season. As, of course, an ad wants to start playing itself. But anyways, okay, 20 games played. So he's played 50 games this season. So, he didn't play the whole season. They could have called him up a little sooner. But, so he didn't play 19 of the first 19 games, I guess it would be then. He didn't play. But, nevertheless, he's been playing some pretty solid hockey. And it's helped give, obviously... give the defensive core a little more stability. But he also knows how to put the puck in the net. And he's been quite a playmaker. So, some promise being shown by this Philadelphia Flyers squad late in the season here. Now again, you see what happens is, I mean, their next game, of course, another big one. With the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Flyers, they just got that one. Obviously, the win against Detroit, no overtime. They got that under their belt. That was a big one. it's not the end of the world if they lose this Penguins game, but it would certainly help. It would serve them well. They beat the Penguins. They'll now on Sunday, April 3rd. I guess that wouldn't be the season finale, but quite yet. But as a matter of fact, let me see if I can scroll now. It would certainly serve them well if they can beat the Penguins, although it remains to be seen. Flyers get a few days rest here, Thursday, Friday, and then a 1 o'clock game against the Penguins. Big game. Just like basically every game is big at this point. So things are looking good for the Flyers right now. They kind of control their own destiny. And they currently sit with the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, that second wild card spot. And it remains to be seen how they shape up against the Penguins this weekend. And then after that. All right, good. Now I think I got the rest of the schedule here up for the Flyers. Yeah, they got the Penguins Saturday. Islanders, a tough game on Monday. Blue Jackets after that. They got the Avalanche, the Coyote. Some Western Conference teams here. Don't mean as much, but still. Each win helps, certainly. But these swing games against the Penguins, the win against the Red Wings obviously is huge. They got the Capitals. They got the Penguins, 3 more times, actually. How about that?
Oh, man.
So they still got 3. That's pretty interesting. Because, those swing points right there. And they still got 1 more against the Detroit Red Wings as well. So, big games on the horizon. Certainly some interest. Down to the wire here. It may very well be. And finally, on the 10th of April, they'll finish with the New York Islanders. So, it's crunch time. Sure, maybe they get the 8th seed. Maybe they got to, play the Washington Capitals. And maybe they get blown out of the 4-1, 4-0. I don't know. But here in Philadelphia, when none of your teams have had any playoff appearances in the last couple of years, it's certainly helpful that the Flyers are showing some signs of life here. Not only did they show some signs of life last week, showing signs of life, they're now in the driver's seat for a playoff spot. So we'll see if they get it done. And it gives us, some more talking points here on the Tyler Werner Show, other than Eagles free agency, other than Jahlil Okafor for the 76ers going down for the rest of the season. And,
Oh, no!
Although, then again, some people may think of that as a good thing. Because that may mean more losses and greater chance to get the number 1 pick in the 2016 NBA draft. But anyhow, it's definitely a good time to be a Flyers fan. Looking bleak, things are looking better now. Eagles free agency, since I last broke it down last week, obviously the big trades. I was tempted to say trades of Byron Maxwell and Kiko Alonso and DeMarco Murray. Essentially, where I left off is with that, and then the positions that they were, addressing in free agency to fill, as a matter of fact. Brandon Brooks, Obviously, the offensive line looking like a step in the right direction. They're trying to fix the offensive line. It looks like Jason Peters is going to be back, perhaps for one more go-round at left tackle. Maybe, maybe he'll flourish a little more this year. I don't know. It's probably his last year, but he didn't have a good season last year. I don't know if maybe the more conventional offense here is going to help for the Philadelphia Eagles and for the offensive line, for Jason Peters perhaps. I don't know. We'll wait and see on that. But nevertheless, they're starting to maybe address the offensive line a little bit going forward. And they can still probably address it in the draft, but it remains to be seen there. But nevertheless, offensive lineman Brandon Brooks, nice way to plug, some holes on the offensive line, a step in the right direction there. Safety Rodney McLeod on these guys on 5-year contracts. Trying to shore up the safety position a little more, obviously, to, complement Malcolm Jenkins there. Walter Thurman, perhaps, I don't know, might be retiring from some recent reports. But anyhow, this is probably a good way to fill that position. Nolan Carroll, of course, returned, the other day, as it's actually after midnight now, but Nolan Carroll is back on a 1-year deal. And it was, questionable whether he was going to get released or not, or re-signed, but he's going to be back on a 1-year deal. Of course, they got Eric Rowe, another cornerback. So, they kind of, I don't know, maybe a little competition there. See if they address that in the draft as well. They could go either way there. Today, in the past 24 hours, I guess to put it that way, the Eagles agreed to terms with wide receiver Chris Givens on a 1-year deal. I don't know. He didn't really do much last year. I don't know who out there really, knows about him.
Who is this?
I don't know. Maybe a depth pick here, depth signing. I don't know, but certainly I think they'll need to address wide receiver a little more in the draft. We'll see as we get closer to the draft, but nevertheless, he split last season between the Rams and the Ravens. Caught some passes, not a whole lot. So that's it. That's pretty much that. Not much to say on that, but of course, last week the Eagles agreed to terms. This is obviously kind of the interesting one. Quarterback Chase Daniel from the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously, this was a Doug Peterson kind of signing here. Obviously Howie Roseman, he's kind of making the moves for the most part in the front office, which is, well and good. But to be fair, this is obviously, just like some of these Jim Schwartz guys who are brought over on defense, which is good. There's some kind of collaborative effort here. There's input from the coordinators, obviously, and Doug Peterson, between Howie Roseman as well. So there's some collaboration here. All right? Unlike what the final year of Chip Kelly was. Some collaboration or some opening of the heart
You've got to open your heart.
As Jeffrey Lurie said after firing Chip Kelly. Now, with Chase Daniel, though, I mean, the idea was thrown out, too. And again, it reminds me of last season when, and of course, it's old news now, but of course, Mark Sanchez getting moved to the Broncos, no news there, but this harkens back to the whole idea of, it's like an open QB competition, and no, it's not. Bradford, just like last season, he's getting, last year it was $15 million or whatever, and Sanchez is $4 million, his backup quarterback. And then the whole idea of, it's an open quarterback competition. No. No, it's not. One guy's getting paid, kind of franchise quarterback money to be the starting quarterback. The other's getting paid a fraction of that. And the same thing applies here. Bradford is the $18 million quarterback. And Chase Daniel, $7 million. You do the math. There's no open QB competition, so don't insult our intelligence. Just put it that way. Now, Bradford, of course, 2-year deal. Chase Daniel, 3-year contract. They also signed linebacker Nigel Bradham on a 2-year contract. Last week, they agreed to terms with cornerback Ron Brooks and tackle Donald Stevenson on 3-year contracts, filling some more positions of need, adding some depth maybe, But the whole Chase Daniel, again, I don't know what Chase Daniel, he hasn't really played at all in this league. He's had very few snaps. And it's very rare that a quarterback 6 foot or under is successful in this league. That's unless you're Russell Wilson or Drew Brees. And those guys have, whether it be great experience or great skill set, I don't know. I don't quite see that in Chase Daniel. And if I'm missing something, I guess, I don't know, bring it to my attention. But I don't know. Sam Bradford goes down. I don't know. I guess Chase Daniel coming. Is that maybe that's better than Sanchez at this point? I don't know. He's more familiar with Chase Daniel, obviously. Doug Peterson. So I don't know. One of the guys he's more familiar with, but I don't know. I mentioned as well that there's the option that the Eagles could draft a quarterback either this year or next year, maybe groom him for the future, because I don't feel as though Chase Daniel can be that guy. And again, this is if Sam Bradford, maybe things aren't playing out as well, or they just feel down the road they have their franchise quarterback and Sam Bradford's services are no longer needed for the Eagles. I don't know. That's the whole. But Chase Daniel, I'm just very skeptical of this Chase Daniel thing. I don't know. That's just me. But that's pretty much it right now. Harry Roseman, hitting that could go running back in the strong consideration here. as I see this on the side. Although they may be wildly overpaying for it, the Eagles. Yeah. Oh, well, this is outdated to begin with. Why? Okay. See, I see it on the side here. Howie Roseman hints that a running back could be a position of interest in it. Well, yeah, because they got to fill the whole. Well, I don't know if they have to. I mean, they still have Ryan Matthews. Don't know if he's going anywhere now. Sproul's getting up there in age, still usable to some extent. And you think maybe Kenyon Barner on the depth chart a little, see what he can do this season. But, yeah, I click on this, and here this is from February 25th, like 3 weeks ago, before the trade of DeMarco Murray. So why? I don't know. It's a little outdated. And unfortunately, a bit of a wasted moment there. But anyhow, just call that water under the bridge at this point. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it right now. 1 week at a time here with free agency. Again, Chase Daniel thing, I don't, I don't totally. Again, Bradford, at this point, I mean, best chance of success right now. There wasn't anybody really there wasn't anyone in free agency really that you could say. I mean, who was it? Ryan Fitzpatrick was maybe the best quarterback available in free agency, and apparently he's been, quote, too expensive for the Denver Broncos, and I don't know. As far as the draft is concerned, I mean, I don't know. There's Carlos Wentz. He's kind of been the big QB name, but I mean, I don't know. Is there anybody that's this year going to be better at quarter this year, maybe even next year? I don't know. Or long term. It's just not a quarterback rich draft right now by the looks of it. So I don't know, maybe, but the Eagles could still possibly go that route. I don't know, but I just, again, there's been possible talks of, the Eagles, they signed Bradford to the $18 million deal, and then there's been, since the acquisition of Chase Daniel, the possible trade Sam Bradford idea. In theory, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it could happen, but I just Chase Daniel. I just don't. I just can't envision him. I can't envision the Eagles team being as successful next year with Chase Daniel at quarterback, and I'm not expecting this Eagles team to do anything really next year, as far as like advancing to the playoffs or anything, or I don't know, or even making the play. I mean, beyond going 8-8, 9-7, I don't really see anything greater than that. But at least as far as moving forward is concerned, and having the best chance for success, I think for the time being, it's Sam Bradford, and unless the Eagles find down the road or in the draft this year or next year a quarterback who's going to turn out to be better than Bradford down the road. And not to mention, then you take into account Bradford's a few years older. See if health-wise he's still shaking out to be okay. He only missed 2 games last year, so can't fret too hard on that. Played better down the road. Maybe it's going to be a more, more conventional, maybe a system that fits him better. Maybe with a defense that's going to be maybe more improved, and things like that. But we'll just have to see how things play out as things continue here. Maybe Maybe Bradford will have more weapons added to the mix. I don't know. Or at least between this year and next year remains to be seen. Well, that'll wrap it up for now on the Tyler Werner Show. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And again, at this point, I have to stay glued to what the Flyers are doing, as the Flyers are very much in the playoff mix. Next game, Pittsburgh Penguins, Saturday, 1 p.m. We'll talk about that and whatever else, Eagles, and whatever else Philly sports on the Tyler Werner Show next time.
I'll have some skirt steak, some brisket, little piece of that New York steak, a couple of them steak fingers, and a burger.
You've known for a long time that you were going to have to get real about fat or stay real fat. It didn't get that way by accident or by some outsider's doing.
Put some macaroni and cheese on there, too. Is there any chicken fried steak left?
Your weight just keeps creeping up or maybe even shooting sky high.
3 slices of pecan pie and 2 cups of coffee.
You have a decision to make. You know it, and so do I.
Yes, all right.
You need prescription diet pills or other diet aids to lose weight.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyberstalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyberstalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that?
I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber-stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted! Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting. The word customer begins with CU. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.